I pledge of allegiance to the flag
to
of
the
the
flag
United States
of
of
the United
America,
States of America
Republic
and to the republic for which it stands, nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty, and
liberty and
justice.
justice for all.
Okay. All right. And I think there was one addition to the agenda. Dan, is that it? Just about the listers extension?
The lister's extension, yes.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Review of May 11th regular meeting minutes. Were there any changes anyone saw to that, or is there a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so Stan, nobody's on the sidebar as far as,
Nobody's there tonight, no.
okay,
And I apologize for last meeting, that somebody I missed, so.
okay, all right. So no open public comment, no guests. Good stuff. I just want to add about this weekend with Memorial Day. It was kind of sad that we couldn't have a parade, but it was nice to see how everyone stepped up to the plate, put the flags up all around town, posted the senior classes posters, and planted flowers at the entrances to Proctor, and put the banners up and also the wreath in the park. So I think that was great that was all done. It made it look a little festive, even though we couldn't do much about it and celebrate.
So I'd just add that Nat Sawyer from National Honor Society placed the flags on the graves. That's something that Mr. Coons has done historically. And speaking of Mr. Coons, maybe it would be a good time now to start thinking about who we're going to dedicate the book to come January and February. We always wait till the last minute, and then there's a scuttle for someone to get something written up. And I think it might be nice maybe to consider him. He's stepped down from a lot of things, and maybe it would be nice to recognize him.
Okay. Make a note of that. So thank you. Anything else anybody have? Okay. Stay in the highway department.
Okay, you have the report in your packet. How is it working out with having this big attached or string of stuff? People be able to follow it and keep
Yeah.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
See, John was out self-isolating. He's no longer self-isolating. I think you've all heard that the person who claimed they had the virus didn't have it. And so CVS then took away Debbie's isolation, and John stopped doing it also. So he's back at work. The guys, while he was gone, helped out down at the wastewater plant to get rid of junk and garbage and kind of do some house cleaning. So they're on the work down there. They did check the Beaver Pond Dam and had to clean out some debris that was in there. Water was being diverted a little bit around the outside edges of it. John has been working with Belden as far as the valves and testing activities, and also he's doing the go-between on the services that need to be connected. So he's spending some of his time up there rather than with the highway guys. Plow damage is number one, and we're still getting telephone calls of people who would like things cleaned up. Brush alongside of the road, we're doing some of that. Potholes, and there's more potholes to come. They did clean out some catch basins in anticipation of some storms. Green up bags, they will be picking up green up bags on Saturday at about 4:30, so that can be, and take them to the transfer station on Monday. The four-wheeler trail at Beaver Pond, we talked about at the last meeting. They didn't find the chunks of marble that they were looking for, so they dumped a load of sand. It has now become just a big bump that people are jumping over. So we're still looking for some marble blocks that they can't maneuver through. Cleaning streets, the crew replaced the museum tiles into museum office space. Crosswalk signs are out. They did the buntings on the gazebo, topsoil and seeded in the parks, mowers, trimming, routine type stuff. We had a new resident on Elm Street who took it upon himself to go across the street onto the town land and pull out tires and junk and trash that was over their bank over there. And the guys went down and picked it up for him. But he is self-isolating. Well, he can't go to work. He's a physical therapist. So he had to do something with his time, and so he's been cleaning out. He also offered to be on the Beaver Pond Committee, so, and they will be having a meeting in a couple of weeks. John has been up to check on the pool, strictly just to know that it's not overflowing and creating a problem. And last week was Vermont Public Works Employee Work Week. And we had lunch together over in the park. We
I saw you guys out there. That was nice.
So anything specific that people have that feel need to be attended to or need some more explanation on?
I don't have anything. Does anybody else have anything?
No.
And all the pending activities are normal cleanup time. They do have 2 or 3 projects. John is going to be sitting down with Chris and all that big laundry list of projects that we anticipated doing this summer. Hopefully we can get some of them underway.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to go into the Board of Water Commissioners?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I don't have anything special as far as the water department is concerned. The activities have been on contract 6. They are testing samples today, going to the lab for E. coli tests. And tomorrow they will send another set. They need 2 consecutive days before they can turn the water on to the public. Pat McLaughlin is going to be in town either tomorrow or Thursday to line up all the work for those houses that need to have connections in their basements taken care of. And that should be tie in with Belden's work as far as connecting services.
About how many houses are we dealing with?
We're dealing with 4. We thought there was 5, but now there's just 4. One person found that the service did come in the side and didn't come in the back. So we got 4 of them. And hopefully they will all go very easily and get them done.
Good.
Anything else underwater?
I was just going to say, there is a contract 7. Contract 7 is
Oh my God.
removal of the steel tank upon East and Terrace. And
Yeah.
I've been in touch with 2 people who are interested. And I've been in contact with the hazardous waste people in Montpelier to get what needs to be in the specs or what permits are needed to tear it down. It was built in 1953. It's 30 feet diameter by 19 feet high. And the first coat of paint on it is red lead. So I talked with one guy and he said that they have taken these apart before. What he does is he just demolishes and puts it in a big dumpster and it gets carted off to someplace else so they do not come in contact with it. Wherever they send it is the place that they take care of it. So that was one of the guys that I talked with. So, but I'm looking for the state to see if there's any regulations as to what they need to do or follow permits. And of course, after contract 7, there still is contract 8B, which is the cut and capping of the transmission main coming down from Chittenden. We've been waiting 3 months, well, almost the COVID-19, for a wetlands assessment, environmental assessment before we can do the work. It's sitting in Montpelier, the people, Du Bois and King. Every now and then I get copied with an email to their contact up there, which says how things are going. We haven't got a release on it yet. But that's the last project. The question is, the money is going to run out before then. And I've talked with John about what the town crew can do. This is a matter of digging up the existing pipe at stream crossings and capping it on the downstream side, leaving the upstream side open. One of the areas where we were supposed to work, the environmental agency said to delete that one from the contract because it was too sensitive a wetland to even go into. That was just going to stay there. But I think there's 8 sites that we need to go in and cut and cap. So that's 8B. Hopefully that will get underway this summer and then wrap up that project. What I'm doing now is looking at the cost for the total water project to be sure that with the addition of the money that the town meeting voted 2 years ago to finish the project, we can do it with that money. I'll keep you informed as to what the numbers are, but it's work that has to be done.
Next year. That's not this year. Next year, Stan, we'll worry about that.
Well, I think the thing is to get them all, well, I come up with the cost numbers and then whether you've got enough money to do it. I know we're going to run out of grant money. That's what we talked about before and what the voters approved the use of the timber sale money for.
Yeah.
So hopefully the budget balances. They've been redoing the grant program to get rid of the negative interest and just subtract off and do some forgiveness. So I'm hoping for some more forgiveness, which gives you a little bit more room under your bond authorization that we can work with. But I don't have those numbers on the top of my head right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Does anybody have anything else underwater? Is there a motion to go out of water and into sewage?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any
I
update?
noted under highway that the water and wastewater guys are cleaning up down there. Also, Belden is using that as a storage spot for some of their materials. They've told John that they will come in when the job is over, bring a bulldozer and clean up their area of it. So hopefully we can get some more space down there to use. The other item that is on the wastewater guys is the lagoon liner. And I asked for 3 quotes on materials. They've got 2, and the third guy didn't come back. So we are going with the 2 that we've got, and they're going to order the equipment and do the work with their own forces. That cuts the cost about in half. But again, the money is in the reserve fund to do that. So that's the building or the maintenance reserve fund for the wastewater plant. So it's not going to be a burden on the user rates. It'll be just a reducing the amount of money in the fund.
Okay. Anything else?
I've got nothing. Questions or comments?
No.
Anybody have any questions or anything to add for sewage? Okay, is there a motion to go out of sewage and back into the regular board meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Stan had the bills added into the packet.
If anybody wants any explanation of these, let me know. It's 400 and some thousand. However, the check to the school was 345,000. So that was why it was such a big number.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just come in and sign those.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I expect you to look at every one of them to be sure that you're satisfied that it's a real bill.
Oh, I do, don't worry.
Yeah.
Go through them with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
All right, PHS graduation parade.
We got a letter from the principal of the high school that they are going to be doing graduation. Probably Lisa's already ahead of me on this. On the 6th of June, and would like to have a parade. They need a permit to do it. And I said, well, it would be good if the select board just moved to allow the high school to do a parade on South Street and Main Street.
Okay, it was going to follow the regular route, right, of our like Memorial Day parade, correct?
That's the understanding I have.
Okay. Lisa, is that basically everyone just who wants to be in it can be in it, like lines up over there, or how's it working?
So each graduates gets to have 3 cars of family members, friends. And then after graduation, I think we're only going to let the graduates line up because they're going to have a car and then whoever's in that car.
Okay. So it's primarily just graduates and family and friends.
So graduation is only family. Each graduate will receive 3 cars that can come. No other people can just show up at graduation. The only person getting out is each graduate will get out, go up. Their diploma will be on the table. They'll receive the diploma and walk back to their car. Everybody else has to remain in the car the entire time.
So is it starting up where we start the Memorial Day parade and then just going to the high school, or is it going all the way down Main Street?
So I think the concept was the last time we talked about it, and things change, as Ben knows, every 5 minutes with COVID, that we would go through graduation. Then after graduation, after everyone's received their diploma, all the graduates would go out the south end of the parking lot, go down Holden, and start there,
Okay.
rather than going all the way down and starting.
Okay.
And then maybe have the fire trucks be at LaFawn's or something like that waiting.
Okay.
So Judy, the thought was for people like me, like teachers, so that we could actually congratulate the graduates. We'll be on the group to be able to wave to them as they go by.
So I'm assuming, I mean, although nobody can just, people can actually stand on the streets when the parade is going by and kind of give their wave. And
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the concept, because like Ben said, teachers are not allowed to be at graduation. No one's, as we all know, everybody goes to graduation, whether you had a child that graduated 15 years ago or never had a child. It's just the event. And this year, kids won't be allowed, or other students won't be. So that's the concept, to allow people to kind of line the parade route all the way down. And we might have them, maybe just go like to the Marble Museum, and that would be like the end kind of spot there.
Right.
So it's easier to go around and disperse. So
Okay. And
that's
now,
the general concept.
normally, like when like our yard did it for the parade and other events, we've had the police officers there. Are they being contacted to say to be at the beginning and the end of the parade, or?
So we'll have police officers on site just for graduation, and then we will reallocate them when the parade begins. But we'll have at least 2 deputies on site just so we don't have any issues during graduation.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Anybody else have anything to add or any questions? Okay, thank you. COVID-19.
Okay, in your packet is a copy of Senate Bill 344 regarding property taxes and municipalities. It's giving the select board quite a bit of authority to do things. I think Celia's biggest question is interest and penalties. Whether the select board is interested or would like to waive interest and penalties because of COVID-19. There are some other items in there where you could change the tax rate. However, our tax rate is set. Those towns and cities who do a tax rate rather than voting expense budgets, this will allow them to make changes. I don't know whether any of them are looking at it or not. This doesn't affect the statewide property tax, it just affects our local taxes. So the question is whether the board wants to waive any penalties and interest for late payments.
Anybody have any thoughts, comments?
You've got some time to do it. I think I attached also the League of Cities and Towns comments on the various items.
Do you see this hurting us, Stan, in any way? Waiting a little bit?
From a financial standpoint, and Celia and I have been trying to fill out a League of Cities and Towns questionnaire as to what the impact of the virus has had on our town financials. And Celia's comment is that it hasn't had an impact. They're still paying their taxes and their water and sewer bill. I'm sure there are some people out there who haven't been able to make the payments. But from a cash flow standpoint, we are handling things very well.
Excellent. We don't have a lot of business to generate revenue off from, so.
Yeah, we don't have a local option tax for sales tax either, so.
Right.
So do you want to table this to the next meeting, or you want to make a decision?
I would think if you're ready to make a decision, it's something that we can plan on. So that Celia can go in and do what needs to be done. Whether you abate them for just the last payment, I think that would be it, rather than somebody who was delinquent last fall or who was late last fall. They've been accumulating interest. But if it's just for the last quarter, the last payment, if you can, give a little bit of assistance to people on their interest and penalties, it might be it's a good gesture, if nothing else. I don't think financially it's going to make a big difference.
If I'm reading this correctly, we can institute a grace period, right?
Ben, I can't hear you.
Yeah, the audio is terrible.
If I'm reading this correctly, we can institute a grace period.
I didn't understand you, Ben.
Yeah.
Let me try to take this. Hold on.
He's saying implement a grace period, that we may be able to implement a grace period.
Yeah,
Yes, I was asking if we can establish a grace period instead of just abating it.
That's what I think too.
you're not abating it. You are, what's the terminology in there is waiving it.
Right.
Waiving.
Not
You're
abating
not
it.
going to abate their taxes. You're just going to waive the interest or penalties.
Waive principal and interest, and I would say on the last payment.
The last quarter, I don't think that would hurt us.
Just the last quarter.
Yeah.
Having the income tax, that it might affect the setting the tax rate, won't it? Because it's not till July 15th, so that's going to maybe come into play.
Well, that's a separate issue, Bruce, in that what you've got in here is in your packet, you added of time to complete your grand list. There's no way
Yeah,
well before August. which means the dates for payment that we voted on at town meeting will have to be changed as soon as we know when we send the tax bills out.
Right, yeah,
We would give 30 days from the date that we mail them to when the first payment is due, and then stagger the rest of them, at least for the rest of 2020, picking up in 2021 on
Yeah.
the schedule.
I think there's going to be an additional quarter issue on the upcoming quarter because people are still not all back to work. A lot of people are still waiting and may not get back to work until July, which doesn't leave a lot of time to come up with getting caught up in paying your taxes.
So if we're pretty much at a good spot right now, people actually are paying taxes, you might find that the penalty and interest, getting rid of those in the next quarter is more beneficial than this quarter.
Well, I think it's going to impact some people on the current quarter, and of course, as Carrie said, the quarter of 2021
Right.
could be
Yeah.
the issue. So it might be in July. I know the tax bills are going to be going out, is to waive penalties and interest for the first quarter and take that step at the appropriate time.
So what are everybody's thoughts? Is that what you'd like to do?
Just want to be clear, it seems like we have three options. A grace period, a decrease, or to waive it.
Yes.
I mean, part of me thinks to start maybe makes more sense for a grace period.
I'm still having trouble understanding you, Ben.
Yeah, you're really unclear, Ben.
I'm saying that maybe we want to start with a grace period.
With a what?
Hold on, I'm just going to type it in.
yeah.
What
Need a new microphone, Ben.
Want to start with a grace period.
A grace period? I don't have an issue waiving waiving the penalty.
So you rather have a grace period, you mean? And so we allow them extension on the back end, and then they do have to pay penalties or taxes.
Yes, because
Boy,
You're completely gone now. You're totally silent.
didn't get any of that, Ben.
Well,
Technology.
I know.
He's typing, I think.
Mom and Dad are using your bandwidth.
apparently.
Anybody else?
that's, yeah.
If I got what Ben what I thought Ben was trying to say is a grace period for people to pay penalties and interest. You could give a grace period, not
Right.
January 1.
And then he said that if they can't, he said it seems like if some people can't get caught up, then we can revisit for. He said he has not a problem starting with either one.
Well,
I think a grace period is just gonna. I think it would be easier to just say, okay, we're waiving penalties and interest, or one or the other, rather than do a grace period and then have to go back, revisit it, and figure out who hasn't paid, where.
yeah,
I think we're creating a lot of paperwork for somebody.
yeah.
Right. So you're agreeable to that, Ben?
Okay.
So is there a motion to allow?
I'd like to make a motion. We'll waive the interest and penalties for the last quarter of this fiscal year.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And as Stan said, we can revisit
You can revisit it anytime.
Right.
the
Yeah.
first quarter of next year, yep.
Okay.
The other item that was in the League of Cities and Towns memorandum talks about abatement. And this is an individual action by a property owner who comes in and asks for their taxes to be abated, taxes, interest, or penalties. And as they pointed out, there's 5 items, and most of you have been through an abatement process before, that you have to meet statutorily. One of those 5 items is inability to pay. So there could be people who are asking for abatement, not asking the select board, but asking the Board of Abatement for some considerations. Celia hasn't heard of anybody that is doing this yet, but there may be people who, if they can't afford it, would come in and ask for a full abatement. But that's the Board of Abatement, who is the select board, the justices of the peace, the town clerk, and the lister. So just to be aware, if somebody's asking you, I can't afford to pay them at all, there is another process, time consuming and a more laborious type process.
Right. And they have to make the effort to ask for the abatement.
Yes, they have to send a letter asking for an abatement.
Right. Okay.
The one item that we did not cover was interest on water and sewer bills. And I should have put this under the water department and the sewer department. It came up when I was talking with Celia today as to whether we are going to do something there. And right now, there's been no movement as far as interest, and I don't know how much money we're talking about on interest on water and sewer. What I would do is have that information available to you when we submit the budgets for the water and sewer department and the proposed rates for next year.
Yeah.
And that'll be hopefully the first meeting in June that you'll have that information.
Okay.
Works
Sure.
for me.
Yep.
These are different times we're dealing with.
Yes.
So the Rutland Regional Planning Commission broadband grant,
They're just asking for our support.
What's the meetings piece?
What?
What's the meetings piece under COVID-19? You didn't discuss that.
The question is whether we are going to come back here for the June 8th meeting. After that, we will be moved out. And the other question is, where are you going to be meeting while we're not in this building? There's no question that the library is the most convenient place to meet. We're looking at a 5-month time period.
You don't think we have enough room at the exhibit?
Not if we have to do social distancing.
Okay, yes.
I mean, that's my, there's a large room there that will hold, the 5, we'll put the tables up so that your select board are there, table for Lisa and myself. That gets you up to 7, and a few chairs for people who wander in or guests that you invite. And I think from a social distancing standpoint, there's no room over there large enough, even one of those back rooms in the back that we haven't considered in our lease.
Okay.
But it's something to think about.
Mhm.
Yes, because the library isn't open yet.
Yeah. Yes. Meet in the park and the gazebo.
Hey, with this weather, that's fine on me.
Anyway, something to think about between now and the 15th of June,
All right.
Okay.
or whether we just continue to have Zoom meetings.
Yeah, we can do that.
Maybe that's the safest thing at the moment anyway.
Well, I think until there's a change,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the state saying, we can meet with 25 people and more, whatever.
Through June, then maybe revisit.
Huh?
yeah. Now, let's see what the next meeting brings, and we may have a better feel from Montpelier.
Okay. So, okay, are we done with the meetings? Move on to the broadband. You started to say something.
Yes.
They were just looking for our support, I believe.
Yep.
Right.
No
Well,
finances or anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't have an issue with that.
No,
No, I don't either.
You might move and vote to authorize Judy to sign this letter of support.
Okay, is there a motion to authorize me to sign the document, the letter of support?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Stan, I can sign that when I do the invoices.
Yep.
Okay. Animal control ordinance.
Carrie.
So Tom and Dale and I will be meeting Wednesday to discuss this further and to do some rewrites on some of this and updating. So that's all I have for that right now.
Okay.
The planning commission has been trying to look at it throughout this mess, and they want a little input.
Okay.
So I hope when you look at it, you'll consider including cats since it says animal ordinance. And the focus primarily always seems to be on dogs running at large, which I am not a fan of. And I'm even less a fan of cats, particularly this time of year as they're in your garden, in your flower beds, just everywhere. And I'm not sure why cats are always the exception to the rule.
I don't know how we would make that happen since there are feral cats. I don't know how we would. There's not even anything out there that talks about cats because there's no way to hold them accountable. There's no way to find out whose cat is whose. And now with feral cats, they have no owner. And you can't put them down.
Well, actually, if you Google it, you'll find that there are several states that have ordinances for cats and require them to be registered.
Registered
Okay.
cat?
But I still don't understand what would you do with the feral cats who there's a big feral cat community. What do you do with them? They have no owner.
I don't know, but it says animal control ordinance, and it seems like cats are given a pass, and the cat population is getting worse and worse in some neighborhoods. So I don't know if you somehow, as a municipality, would contract with the feral cat society or whatever that is, but it's not good. And it's, we have them several in our neighborhood. And I guess it's just surprising to me that we're so accepting. I mean, to allow cats to run and, defecate everywhere. They're in your flower gardens. They're in your, just regular gardens. They're all over everything. So.
We've gone over several town animal ordinances around us and no mention of cats with them either.
I realize not in the state of Vermont, but there are other states that have it. And actually, when it was rewritten at one time when Stephanie was here, she did incorporate cats in it, and the Selectboard, unfortunately, and it came from VLCT, voted to have it removed.
Well, I've read the whole VLTC document and have seen nothing on cats. I mean, that's a big undertaking. I'm not really sure how you would how you would even do that. I mean, I'll look at it a little more. It's not like I don't have a cat problem myself, but I don't know if there's any enforcement possible for cats.
Well,
Yeah.
it seems like it needs to start someplace, even if it just starts with, $5 to make people register their cats. It just seems like people with cats receive a pass, and people can have multiple cats and they just run a large. And if it was someone with a dog, everyone would be up in arms about it. I mean, you'd be calling people and the sheriff would be here, but because they're cats, everyone just, whatever. And I find them just as intrusive.
Well, I agree with that. I just don't think a sheriff is going to chase a cat either. They barely can chase a dog.
Yeah.
You can't even get them to register their dogs.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a starting point to make them, because the money we give in for dog licenses go to neuter or spay cats as well. So that's why it seems like people who have cats in town should be participating and have to pay in to that pool of money.
My question is, what would a registration do? I mean, it wouldn't make them keep their cat indoors.
Right.
So they'll keep doing what they do.
And then there's the question of how many cats get dropped off here in the spring. A lot, because I seem to have one or two every year. I think they just drop them at Beaver Pond and they find their way down the hill. What do you do about them? There's no repercussion to anybody for that. That's the other issue. I don't even know how we would approach that. And then you have the feral cat population that's also pretty significant in town. I find that ridiculous too, but again, I don't know how we would enforce anything, or what do we do with the feral cats? They're allowed. If they're allowed it everywhere. They're even allowed in Rutland City. There's a lot of feral cats in Rutland City. So I don't really know what to do. I mean, I can look a little further, see if I can find anything else.
Well, I'm happy to send you what I Googled from other states about cats and about how they're considered a nuisance and how they're registered. So,
Okay.
We
Okay,
will
you can
discuss
say
it
your
tomorrow
name.
night.
I'm sorry, what?
We'll discuss it a little more tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night is your meeting? Okay.
Carrie.
Okay. All right, and then we can put it on next agenda.
Yeah,
Anything
hopefully
else
we'll have
anybody
it in. Hopefully we'll have it in for approval to you by then.
Well, and I think we also need to discuss on it who's going to enforce, because I can honestly say I'm extremely unhappy with the sheriff's lack of enforcement. They don't want to be doing this. You can tell. So we need to figure out what we're doing here, because the situation just goes on and on and on until something is really big. I think it just takes too long. I don't think the response is there.
Well, some of it could be this Colvic too,
But look, even the dog bite, look how long that took. That's ridiculous.
I've invited Sheriff Fox to join you at the next meeting to discuss the contract for next year and to respond to questions that the board members may have on coverage, enforcement, and all those things we've talked about for the last 2 or 3 meetings.
Well, I'm not really ready to talk to him yet, because I think we need to discuss whether we should talk about the contract, or maybe we talk about it after him. I mean, is it something we have to enter into for a year?
There's a termination clause in the contract. You can terminate it at any time with, and I think it's 60 days notice.
Yeah. Correct.
Don't quote me on the 60 days, but it can be terminated.
Okay.
And you need something on July 1.
Yeah.
Whether Pittsford has got anything that you're going to propose before July 1.
We can't do anything yet. I talked to John today. They still have not received any word on the COPS grant. I'm sure that's held up because of COVID. So until we can find out if we can get that grant, we're kind of in a standstill. There's nothing we can do.
So essentially, you're gonna have to sign some type of a contract with the sheriff's department to get coverage on July 1.
Right.
Dave,
That's my thing, whether we want to go a whole year.
you don't have to go a whole year.
We have to do something July 1.
Right. I understand that,
That's our only option pretty much at this point.
but we don't have to sign it for a year.
You can talk about coverage, you can
Right.
talk about schedules.
I think you should have him in on the 8th.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
we can't just leave it up in the air.
Did he mention if his price was staying the same?
He didn't, Steve gave us the number that's in the budget last January. So that,
Right.
whatever number's in the budget is what the number is gonna be. And that was the significant increase
Yes,
because
Yes.
of his issues.
yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, organic waste disposal.
I included in your packet communications between Tom and Ted Shaft and Carrie and Ted Shaft. Whether there's any activity that the board wants to take to support any program. I think the way we left it at the last meeting was it's up to the citizens to find their own way to dispose of it. Ted has indicated he's looked into it, and Carrie is, of course, on the Solid Waste District Board, so she knows what's happening.
I think Ted was just looking for us to nod our heads yes, and then, you know, he'll work on some solutions. There are some people around town that really want to compost and recycle. I'm not one of them.
And I think my feeling is that it is up to the person.
Right, right. And Ted realizes that. He was just hoping that we'd nod our heads and say, if you want to get a bunch of people together, it's fine with us.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any ifs, ands. I just told him, like, answered his questions as far as, you know, there is no hauler because they're not mandated to haul residentially.
Right.
That the town wasn't going to cover it, and here are some options. So,
No, we complain about residents not wanting to get involved, and
Yeah.
this is a good time to let some of them get involved, and it really is not going to affect us at all.
I mean, I took like that hour-and-a-half little workshop virtually and got my compost bin for $31.
All right. The Railway Master License Agreement.
Dan, the taxes there, is that just a one-time thing or is that yearly?
That's yearly.
Really?
We've been getting a little around $500 a year from that state of Vermont.
That goes a long way.
It goes, well, the fee that they're going to be charging us every year is $800, so it goes a little bit against offsetting that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that's what Tom was looking for.
yeah.
Some give back, because, you know, and listen to the Rutland discussion a little bit there off and on, and I didn't hear where they were getting paid anything.
Yeah, so it nets off and gonna cost us about $300 difference.
So I
I mean,
guess
do
the
we
question
even
is,
have a choice? There's not really a choice because
No,
we need
No.
to replace the sewer line. So,
yeah,
Right now, they'll take us to court, you know.
exactly.
That'll be very expensive.
yeah. You can't hire a lawyer for $300.
No.
Yeah, they don't play well.
No, they do not.
so a motion to accept the master license agreement and a signature spot for all signers, and I've corrected Curtis so that that one is taken care of.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
I'll second.
All in
Sure.
favor?
Aye.
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 So just one question on that, Stan. Do you want me to sign it Carrie Doherty or Carrie Covey?
Who are you?
I don't know.
You don't know who you are?
Well, you know, I don't understand why the DMV and Social Security is not open. It's not like there's not a plexiglass there already. So I can't change anything. So legally, I'm both. It's hilarious.
Which way would you like to sign it?
It doesn't matter. At work, I still have to sign Carrie Doherty, so because I can't prove that I'm otherwise, because my license doesn't say otherwise.
Well, that's, driver's license is one thing. It's what you want to be called is the other thing. That's more.
Well, I just want to make sure it's a legal document. So you know what? I'll just hyphenate it. Then I put them both there.
There you go.
Okay.
You
Sure.
have 2 identities.
I'll hyphenate it for now.
I've had a lot of identities over the years, so don't worry about it.
Identities, personalities, yeah.
Oh, I already switched you on the minute, so I hope you're okay with that.
Yes, I am okay with that. And I will be Carrie Covey eventually. I mean, my license expired in April.
Have to do it again.
All right, town office renovation update.
Everything, we've got the cleaners lined up. They're supposed to be in this week. John has gone over and replaced some of the ceiling tiles. We've talked with Comcast about switching our internet. We've talked with Consolidated about switching our phones. Celia's talked with Pat Curtis regarding all of our computer stuff. And I'm going to have a graduation in South Burlington with my grandson on that, the 12th, on the Friday we move, so I won't be around to help.
Oh,
Timing.
Celia said, we don't want your help anyway.
I bet she did.
Now, the big thing is we're moving, and I think I told you before, a lot of the materials that's in the storeroom out into the meeting room, stack them so we don't have to truck them over to the museum and back again. And with access to the upstairs, which it should be relatively clean, a lot of the stuff that I've got as far as hard copies are here. Most of everything I have in hard copy is also in electronic files. So everything is retrievable.
Okay,
So the 12th is the big movie day.
all right.
12. When do you think the counter will be
Office will
coming?
probably be closed for at least 3 days before we move.
Sure.
That's when the counter will come out, you think?
Yeah, because it's got to come out at least the day before the movers show up.
Right. Date again, please. June.
June 12th is the moving date. And June 15th was the date that G and Cola gave that they were looking to start work.
Good.
All right, that's good.
This is a long awaited.
Yes.
All right, town manager update. Anything back yet?
Nothing came in today. I mean, the issue was on the college degree. When they checked on that, it didn't show up. The applicant explained the situation that he was an online student, and so they are checking the other information. I would expect to see, everything else is clear. This is the only one that hasn't cleared.
Okay,
And he has sent copies of his diploma and also his transcript. And I furnished that to Mr. Burgess as far as his checking on it.
okay.
Good.
All right. Okay, budget.
You got the same type of report that you've had. I did put in the projected. I can do it again in the 1st of June. I don't see us problems. There's a lot of red in there in various places, but there's reasons to explain them. And the bottom line is that we should be in the black for FY 2020, both highway and general fund. Water and sewer are very comfortably within budget.
All right, well, thank you, Stan.
Thank you.
Sheriff report. Anybody have any questions or?
I asked Stan to ask them where they were this weekend. Did you get an answer?
Yes, they did. Officer Carter was assigned on duty for the 24th. His wife got a telephone call from a funeral director in New York State, giving them a 2-hour window to pick up her grandmother's ashes. He called the sheriff and said, I'm going to go with my wife to pick them up. And he did. They did not assign anybody to cover him when he wasn't here. Dave Fox had a question as to why the state police did not respond to the information. But that is why there was nobody on duty on Sunday the 24th.
Well, the state police did respond, but I don't seem to see a lot of coverage on the weekends at night when we need the coverage. It's an ongoing situation. I've looked over the last month, and every weekend our coverage is very minimal, and it's not when we need it. So I'm a little bit stressed about it. You call them, nobody's on patrol. You call them the next day, nobody's on patrol. So I don't get it. And I guess my thing is, if we're signing this contract for July 1st, they better be here for 4th of July weekend.
Well, that's what happened to the 24th. There was supposed to be somebody on duty. What I have received in the past, and I haven't received one for about 3 months, is their rotating schedule.
Well, see, again, we're right back to the same thing again. I'm just very disappointed in the coverage that we get for what we pay.
And that's an issue that you can talk with Sheriff Fox. I mean, for what we pay is we're paying for the 80 hours, average 80 hours every 2 weeks. I did go back and make a check, and some weeks are under 80, some weeks are over 80. It just so happened that for the 23 2-week period since last June, the average was 81.3 hours per week, or per 2-week period. So they are maintaining their average, and I'm sure that there's somebody in their office who is adjusting schedules, that if they have a big week for some reason, the next week all of a sudden it doesn't give you as many hours. There were some time periods where they had over 100 hours a week, and then a couple periods later they may have had 50 hours. This is something I think you need to talk with the sheriff about as far as scheduling and as far as having people on duty when you wish to have them on duty. The contract calls for an average of 80 hours in a 2-week period, and I believe they have satisfied that requirement.
Okay, so if anybody has questions or concerns, if they bring them to the June 8th meeting to address them with him, that would really be helpful.
Well, I'm going to look up the old minutes because these are things we've addressed already. Not once, but twice, and this will be the 3rd time. Same problems. So I don't feel that our problems are being addressed by them at all. Maybe for a week or 2, maybe a month, and then we're back to the same thing. I just,
We have a new sheriff, so let's not.
You know, the Obergs on Sunday was not a dog issue, it was a neighbor issue, yes.
yes, I know. My kid was there. I'm not impressed.
Is that the same neighbors with the dog?
No,
No,
Oh, it's not?
no, it's not the same neighbors as with the dog.
But I forwarded your email, Carrie, over to the sheriff on seeing the dog out running around again. So I haven't heard back on that one.
And I'm sure we won't.
Okay, is there anything new or old anybody wants to add before we go into executive session? Okay, so is there a motion to come out of the meeting and go into executive session?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Zoom. Okay, you're back on.
Is there a motion to come out of executive and go back into the regular board meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so there's nothing else to discuss. Right, Stan?
That's it.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, see you guys.
Bye. Don't forget Green Up Day, Saturday.
Huh?
Green Up Day, Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Let
All
me,
right.
let me go
Well-
back to you. Who made the motions to adjourn?
Tom or Ben?
I think Ben, because Ben is gone.
He's gone.
He's out.
Okay,
I thought Bruce made and Ben
Okay.
seconded it.
I thought that was coming out of executive.
Oh, okay, right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you stop recording during executive session?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did.
If-
I just happened to notice it there. I'm like, what?
All right.
If I forget to do it, PEGTV can edit it for me. I don't have the software to edit it. I thought I could do it, but I've tried a number of different ways, but they have edited it for me. They cut off before the Pledge of Allegiance and they cut off when we went into executive session.
Okay.
It shows on our screens here too if you're recording or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Like now. All right. See you guys.
And I will be sending the recording to PEGTV so that they can include it on their website.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Stan. Thank you, guys.
Take
Bye.
care. Thanks.